Hi there.
Hello.
Interesting night of hockey here in the
Uh-huh.
Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yes, it was
Um, so again, it's late. It's about 10 after
12:20.
12 here in Texas, and Carson and I coming on after a very, very exciting night of four games in the NHL playoffs. Just ended at an incredible game, but shouldn't have gone the way it did. The Oilers and Kings. Well, Kings are up 4-0 on the Oilers, 4-1 going into the third period, and the Oilers came all the way back, tied it at five, and then and we'll get into this in a little bit, let 42 seconds left. Deneau gets his second goal, and the Kings take game one, which in the last 4 years,
The
the
Oilers
Kings
haven't
have
won
won
game one.
now three of the four first game ones. So,
Yeah,
but
Oilers are an awful game one team. I think that makes 10 out of the last 12 game ones they've played, they've lost. I'm pretty sure is
yeah.
what that number is. So,
So let's start a little earlier tonight with a game. I think it was the first game, wasn't it? Washington and
yeah,
Montreal was the
Montreal,
first game.
Washington. Yeah.
See, that game was a really really good game. Went into our first overtime. You were able
Yeah.
to watch it. I wasn't able to watch much of that game.
Yeah, it was I mean, Washington really controlled the first couple periods, and then it came to the third, and they were up 2-0 going to the third. Montreal just took it over. They held Washington without a shot for like the last 8, 9 minutes of the period. They scored 2 goals. Definitely were controlling the tempo, and then going in overtime, they were playing hot. They were the hotter team going in overtime until the grade eight elevated for his first career Stanley Cup overtime goal. Ovechkin scored his second of the game, like almost 3 minutes into the period of overtime, and the game's over. Um, I mean, very good tester game for Montreal. I think they did a really good job figuring out how to make their strategy work in the third. But they gave Washington too much at the beginning of the game, and I think it ended up hurting them. But definitely a very entertaining game, and I think a game that went a lot differently than people thought. I think people thought Washington were going to run over Montreal, and it didn't go that way. They really didn't. Montreal controlled the pace when it mattered, and then Washington took it at the end of the game.
Yeah, I think that series could surprise a lot of people. I think a lot of people think Washington were just going to walk all over Montreal. But I don't think so. This, as proof from this game, I think Montreal's got a really good shot making this thing go long.
Yep.
Next game was Winnipeg and St. Louis. Again, another close game between these two.
Yep.
A better game, a closer game as far as the Blues were concerned. The Blues, kind of like dropped the ball or dropped the puck, if you want, in the third period the other night. But again, I said it before we started the playoffs that St. Louis could give teams a rough time, and I know now Winnipeg is up 2 games to nothing in the series. But St. Louis ain't going to go away. It's one of those young teams have nothing to lose, and tonight, they put a little surprise into the President's Trophy winners tonight.
Yeah, they did a good job. I mean, again, another game they played really well, but didn't come out on the right side of it. I mean, the Jets are a really good team, and for a good reason. They played a really good game, and they deserve to win it. But these games in St. Louis are going to be very tough for the Jets to win. They're not going to be easy games. The Blues have played two really good hockey games, and they just have to figure out a way to get the puck past Hellebuck a bit more
Yeah, so now they'll go back to St. Louis
on
for a
Thursday.
couple of games. They have to pretty much win. I think they pretty much have to win Game Three at home, or else this series might be
Oh
over
yeah,
a
I
little
agree.
sooner
They
than
got to win
people
it.
thought.
They have to win Game Three, no doubt. The pressure's
Yeah.
on them to win it.
And then we go up the highway here from San Antonio
Oh,
to Dallas for the Stars and the Avalanche. And
I was watching
uh,
that game. Oh, I'm sorry, but I was watching that game because I saw 4-1 Edmonton. I'm like, okay, Dallas game was at 3-2 at the time, and what a game that was. That one actually ended after the Oiler game, and it started earlier, but the Stars won that 4-3 in overtime. Again, the Avalanche started really good, and they were giving up they were up in the third period. Looked bad for Dallas, who is now, like you mentioned yesterday. Up to this point, have lost 8 straight games, counting the regular season as well. And they came in clutch in overtime, and they took it with about 2 minutes left. It was Wacky little play. There was a fourth liner too. It was Colin Blackwell, and it was a shot on net. And I don't know what happened. Everybody kind of got turned around as far as the defenseman goes, and he was able to loop right back around and get the puck, and he shot it right over the glove, and it went in. And now Dallas needed that. I mean, if they lost, it wasn't looking good for them to get back in it if they lost that game. Uh, so the tides have turned a little bit. Uh, for Dallas, they've been able to keep up with Avalanche, and I mean, again, Heiskanen could be back here soon, maybe, but much needed for them. I think this is a bigger game than people realize for Dallas. They go. I think they'd be really screwed if they were going back to Denver down two
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, they definitely haven't played well the last 10 games, including the game one loss the other night in Colorado. So Dallas has
Yeah,
got themselves back in
yeah.
it
I've got one
thanks
word
to an
for you.
overtime win.
I've got
And
one
then the
word for
last
you.
game, well, here we were just talking about a little earlier, it's the
Mm.
Oilers and the Kings for the fourth year in a row. And you could tell by the start of the game, Carson, that it was all Kings. The
Yeah,
Kings were just a step or two ahead of the Oilers. The crowd was just energetic. I think I've never heard the crowd in that arena that loud.
yeah. They were all
Um,
they were
and
all over
and
Stuart Skinner
oh, they were all over Stu right from
and
the start.
Nursey
And
too.
to Stuart Skinner's credit, there's a couple of the goals he had no defense. It was he had no chance. Um, when they made it four to nothing, they had given up a couple of goals. They gave up a power play goal early in the first, and that's the thing. The Oilers were playing undisciplined hockey. They
Yes, they were.
gave up too many penalties. They gave up two power play goals, including a 5-on-3, and just some stupid undisciplined plays by the Oilers.
There was another
Um,
5-on-3 in that game besides the one that
yeah,
happened later in the game.
no, though there was one that they actually scored on.
Wow, they had two of them.
They
That's
had gotten a
crazy.
penalty, and then the Oilers got another penalty, and they scored just before the first penalty ended.
Yeah, that's bad. They took two of five. They had two 5-on-3s against. That's not
Yep.
the key to
But
success.
you know, so second period, the Kings are up 4-0 late, and you're thinking, oh, geez, well, see what they can do in the third period, and then Draisaitl gets a goal, makes it 4-1, and that seemed to spark the Oilers because from that point
They
before,
played
the
better.
Kings had pretty much handled Draisaitl and McDavid, cutting him down, not giving him any space. Draisaitl gets the goal. The Oilers go into the third period. They get another goal. The Kings go up 5-2. Then the Oilers make it 5-3. The Oilers make it 5-4 with an empty net or with the net empty, and then
6-on-5.
McDavid
Yeah,
just doing McDavid things to tie it late. And I was thinking, sitting here going, I'm going from a fan that's going, well, let's see what happens in game two to like we're tied 5-5 overtime, right? And then
mm,
with 41 seconds or 42 seconds left, again,
mm.
just a mistake at the Kings blue line by the defense. Kings come in, and it was a knuckle. I don't know if you
Yeah, it
saw
was
the
a knuckle
highlight
puck.
of
I was a
the
knuckle
nose
puck. I
goal.
saw it.
It
Yeah,
was a knuckle puck. Um, Vogel was jumped in front of Skinner, and it was just like you just sit there going, "Oh." You come all the way back. The Oilers have never, ever in the history of the team come back from being down 4-0 in the playoffs, and this would have been a first. And it just came up a little bit short. The Kings
yeah,
take game one, but if you're like me and you're an Oiler fan, you look at that third period and you take what you did because you were out, down and out,
yeah.
and
You
you never
replicate
gave
that
up.
next game.
And you just got to take that into game two now. And you got to win game. I think you got to win game two if you're the
Yeah,
Oilers because
yeah,
you want to have that tie going back into Edmonton for
yeah.
game three and game four.
And I agree. I mean, no matter if you lose this game 5-0 or like 6-5 like that, the game's over now. It's lost.
Yep.
So you forget about it. You move on to the next one and play the same way you did in the third the whole time. Because
Yep.
yeah, I mean the Kings pushed the pace, and I mean after two periods, the Oilers only had 9 or 10 shots in the game,
They only
and
had like yeah,
that's not
they
the key
went
for the
like they
Oilers
went
to.
something like 16 game minutes without a shot on net
Yeah,
between this.
that's not the key for that team to
No,
win. So I mean, good on them to come back, but again, they have a salty taste in their mouth after that one because they wanted to win and they didn't. So you forget about it. You play the whole 60 this time because LA pretty much dominated the first two periods, and that seemed, even though the Oilers came back, that makes a big difference when you're coming down from 4-0. you
Yep.
know, versus it's like 1-0 or keeping it tied. But 4-0, that's a lot. And, you know, they got to be disciplined next game, not take as many penalties because the LA power play was good. Uh,
Hmm.
we know what the Oiler power play can do, but they got to make sure they stay out of the box because they can't be giving the Kings that many opportunities.
No, no. And so we'll see what happens. Game two is coming up on Wednesday. We got another set of 4 games tomorrow night,
Yep.
and we'll be on afterwards to give a wrap up. I think the last game is the Golden Knights and Minnesota game. So um, we'll be on after that game. We'll check in with everybody. We're not going to do our normal podcast time. We're just going to go and do a wrap
Uh,
up
yep.
at the end of the night tomorrow night. But it should be another good night of hockey, and the first time
Yeah.
we get to see the Florida teams play.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
this is going to be their first game,
Crack at
Florida
each
and
other.
Tampa tomorrow night.
Yep.
Anyways, so that's kind of wraps up tonight for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Again, our thanks always to the Refocus Radio Network. You can get all of our YouTube um, shows, our podcasts on the Refocus Radio Network. You can also get the I Am Refocus Radio Network with Shemaya Reed, Sweep the League with Rudy Campos Jr. as he's getting heavy into the NBA playoffs right now, and us and a bunch of other great stuff. So Carson and I will be back tomorrow night after the Golden Knights Minnesota game.
Yep.
We look forward to it, and as we always say, or at least I always say, in the meantime and in between time, everybody have a great hockey night.
Bye, Deb.
Okay, bye.